What's going on, everybody? Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here, and today we're doing an absolute intro into drop D tuning. So if you've never experimented with different alternative tunings, I think this is the easiest, most accessible one, and make sure you click the link below because we're going to tab out a little bit of what we're doing. So, what is drop D and how is it useful? Basically, all it is if you take a regular standard tuned guitar, a guitar in E standard as it's called, the names of the strings will be E, A, D, G, B, and E. Now what drop D means is you take the low E string and you drop it down to match this D string, but an octave below. So you could use a tuner and just kind of like go down, or you can use this D as a reference tone until you get them about the same. Okay? So, one thing that this does right off the bat is it makes power chords extremely easy to play. So a power chord, if you don't know, like let's do a power chord rooted on the A string, the 5th fret of the A string and the 7th fret of the D string. Together that makes a power chord, and you can move that all over the place. It isn't major, it isn't minor, it's just kind of like a beefed up single note that you'll see in a lot of easy intro beginner songs, and just like rock songs in general use power chords a lot. What drop D allows us to do is to play a 1 and a 5. That's what a power chord is. A root note, and then down a string, down 2 frets, is its 5th. And that comes from the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 1 and a 5. It allows us to play those on the same string. So whereas before, if I wanted to play a power chord right here, I'd have to do the stretch, and maybe like if you're just starting out, that stretch can be kind of difficult to get tone out of both of those notes. When I dropped that lower, basically it's moving this to here. So now I can play a power chord just by holding down 1 fret. It's almost kind of like a little mini bar chord maybe. So if I wanted to play the 3rd fret as a power chord now, I could just do this. And this used to be a G note, but now everything is down 2 semitones, 1 full step. So this 3rd fret is now an F power chord. So the first thing that it does is it opens up 2 notes that we previously did not have. We can play a low D and a D sharp. Before, with it in standard tuning, this note, this E, was the lowest note that we could do. But now we've extended our range below what we can usually do. A lot of metal players might experiment in some kind of tuning like this. Heavy rock stuff. Tool is like a fantastic band that uses drop D a lot. Now, how we can utilize this in our playing is really just by taking these little kind of like mini power chords now that we have going on, and then doing it in a musical way. And the way you want to do that is to maybe use something like the D minor scale. So all that is knowing which frets along this low string now, this low D string, are going to kind of work well together. So if we play the D minor scale, starting on this, and this is going to be tabbed out in there, it's open, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, okay? So if you just do the frets, open, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, that's a single note, or you can do them as these power chords. Okay? Now, if you want to work in intervals, some people will communicate scales as intervals. It would be a note, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. However you can get it in your mind where you start recognizing this pattern. Because you can really play a lot of cool songs just by having these certain frets highlight or light up in your mind, okay? This is just the D minor scale. Any way you want to combine those is going to sound good. So we can just start with the first 3 here. Okay, it kind of has a very heavy sound to it because we're going lower than we usually have, and then we're working our way through a D minor scale. You could also use a D major scale, but I want to kind of focus on one thing at a time. And that's starting to combine these notes right here. Now, another thing that we can do is we can take some of the same notes in that scale and then work it into a pedal point. What that is when you kind of keep coming back to this one note. So maybe I'm going to take notes in the D minor scale, and I might start even like here on the 3rd fret of the A string, to a D, to an E, to an F, okay? So I'm going to start here with this low D. I'm going to hit the 3rd fret of the A string, which is a C, low D string again, the 5th fret of the A string, which is a D, and then now I can kind of start working that interval in here, D, E, F. So C, D, E, F. And I can really turn these into regular power chords if I want. Same D minor scale that we did from here. Like if we started with this D, E, F, that's the lower version of this. But I think it's cool if you start incorporating just this open D string to some of these chords. Like, so all I was doing there is I was kind of hitting, always coming back to this D, maybe hitting a power chord that's in that scale, a C, to a D. In fact, you could just maybe simplify it and just listen to something with just this C power chord to just this D power chord. I'm just hitting the D string twice, and then back to the chord. So D twice C, D twice D. Maybe swing it a little. So it kind of has this really aggressive rock sound. It's all because you down-tuned and then you're adding different power chords from that D minor scale, or really whatever kind of scale you want to use. It's just now you have a lower option available to you that you can kind of use to thicken up these chords. So it's a good idea to know where maybe the notes that sound good together. That's why, again, that D minor scale is a great one to learn. Kind of maybe like a tip in thinking about this scale is going open 2, 3, okay? So everybody can remember that. It's just 3 power chords. We have a root note, we go 2 frets higher, and then 1 fret higher. Now if we start on the 5th fret, we do the same thing. Root note, 2 frets higher, 1 fret higher. Really, it's just kind of like these repeatable patterns. So maybe we just start thinking about those first 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then again, just 10th fret, 12th fret. And then anytime you want to kind of slide back, and then end on that low D, it kind of sounds like that. Also too, depending on how your guitar is set up, this is just an acoustic guitar. A lot of electric guitar players will utilize this too. It kind of gives a little bit of almost like a looseness to your strings, because it's what you've done. You've just taken like the tension of your string and released it down a full step. And it kind of adds that almost like a buzziness to an acoustic guitar in kind of a cool way. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I think it sounds pretty cool. So again, this is just one way to kind of introduce yourself to an alternate tuning. And really, it's just kind of thinking of power chords, working your way through a scale, however you want to do it. And it sounds pretty cool, and all you're doing is just holding down a couple strings, 1 fret. So, if maybe, some people complain about a lot of the bar chords and the power chords being too much of a reach when they're first starting out, this is an excellent way to combat some of that reaching, and then still think of things in a more musical way that can lead to kind of like a heavier type thing. And it doesn't always have to be aggressive sounding. You can do kind of stuff in D major. Like maybe let's take this D major chord right here. Kind of using it to drone that D. So there's a lot of ways that you can utilize it, but I just wanted to kind of go over a quick introduction into detuning one of the strings of your guitar, extending the range a couple notes lower, and just seeing how that can kind of open up different things that you can use and incorporate into your own playing. So if you've mastered drop D and you still want to learn more, you're in luck, because we have other great videos by myself and other awesome instructors. So definitely click around, check them out, and if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear what you think. Thanks a lot.